Okay, we're muted, right?
But the mic should be.
We're good. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Can everyone hear us? If you can, can you just put a thumbs up, please? Okay.
Yay, thank you.
Good evening. We thank you for coming out to our calendar meeting. We first would like to inform you that two of our members are running late, but they will be here shortly. So once they get here, they will also introduce themselves. So for now, we would just like to open our meeting. It is 6:24. Rose, can you please do roll call?
Yes, good evening, everyone. Francine Almine?
Here, so, do you do roll call introductions, right? Yes.
Yes.
So, I'm present, I'm Francine Almash, I am a parent of two high school aged children, in the system and one college age student. I represent District 75, District 2, and District 20. Yeah, that's me.
Okay, Dr. Sinai?
Good evening, everyone. I'm here. My name is Dr. Tanai Canton. I'm the mother of 6 sons. I have a child who's currently in 4th grade in District 5. Thanks for coming.
Carolyn Castro?
Okay, hi, everyone, I don't know if you can see me, I'm here. I'm Carolyn Castro, I have 3 sons, one who is still in the public school system, he was 10 years old in the 4th grade. We live in Spanish Harlem and represent District 1.
And Heather Daly.
Hi, I'm Heather Daly, and we live, or my son attends school in District 25 in Queens. And we live in District 30, and he'll be in 6th grade next year, in the NEST program.
Can I appoint a timekeeper? Who wants to?
I can be the type.
Okay. So because we don't have 6 members yet, we're not going to go over reports and things and start. We're going to actually start with our presentation, but we're going to actually switch them around. The introduction to the basics for this citywide council for special education. We really designed that workshop to not only share with the public, but also with new members coming to the council. And because they're running late, we're going to just reverse our agenda and actually do the DOE parent leadership structure. Parent leader Naquan McLean from District 16 will be leading that presentation.
We can't.
Yeah. So Naquan, are you there?
Oh,
I'm here. Could you hear me?
well,
Thank you for coming. We appreciate you, and you can start.
Thank you for having me. My name is Naquan McLean. I am currently a member on CEC 16 in Bed-Stuy, Brooklyn. I'm also the president of the Education Council Consortium, which is a non-for-profit organization that supports parents in the city of New York. If we can go right into the presentation tonight, if we can go to the next slide.
Okay. Before we start, Naquan, I want to first apologize. I forgot that we have one member remotely. And
no.
Rose, if you can do roll call for Anna, and she can just introduce herself, and then Naquan will start you can start. Anna? You can unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hi, how are you? What was it that you wanted me to say?
Just say who you are, where you're from, and a little bit about your experience quickly, if you like.
Okay. Hello, my name is Anna Bonomo. I have one teenage son who's in high school now, District 75, and I'm in Staten Island. And he's graduating next summer. And that's it. I'm a parent.
Thank you so much. Okay, Naquan, you can start with the first slide.
No problem. If we can move to the second slide.
Second slide.
So tonight we're going to do an overview of the DOE parent leader structures. So we're going to start with an overview of the DOE structure. Part 2 would be the parent leadership and family support. Part 3 will be parent leadership, and then Part 4 will be the chancellor regs that require parent participation. So we can stay on this slide for a few minutes. So we know that the DOE structure is the chancellor and his cabinet, superintendents, and principals. For under the second tab would be for parent supports. We know central support would be the Office of Family and Community Engagement, FACE. The district support for parent leaders would be the Family Leadership Coordinator, which is the FLC. And for school-based support for parents would be parent coordinators. Could we move to the DOE slide?
Yeah, next slide, next slide.
So this is the most recent DOE structural chart as of June 2023. And as we see, we have the chancellor at the top, then we have the first deputy chancellor, and then all the other deputy chancellors, and then you see the reporting structure of who reports to who. Tonight, we're going to be focusing on the deputy chancellor of community, family and community engagement and external affairs, Kanita Lloyd, and her division, which is FACE, that's supposed to provide support for parent leaders. Next slide. So the panel for education policy is the New York City School Board. As of 2022, the panel has increased to have 13 mayorals, that 13 members of the city that are appointed by the mayor. 4 of them must be parents. 4 of them must be a parent, and they must fit the qualifications of having a student with a disability, being a parent of D75, being an ELL learner, a parent, or a high school parent. Those are the 4 parents that the mayor has to put when he does his 13 mayoral appointees. Then you receive 1 appointee from the borough president, and then the CEC presidents for each borough gets together and they appoint one representative to represent each borough. And then you have 2 non-voting student members, and you have the controller and the chancellor as ex officio officer, non-voting officers of the city board. And then you have the 2 links that gives you the structure and the powers of the city board. Next, the parent leader structure. Next slide. So we're going to start at the bottom of the parent leader structure, and then we're going to go up. And not the bottom being that they're any less than, but the bottom being the school level. So school level, you have your PAs or your PTAs, which is your parent associations or your parent teachers associations. You have your SLT, which is your school leadership team, and you have your Title I Parent Advisory Committee, which is your PAC. And all 3 of those bodies are supposed to receive support from your parent coordinator. Then you move up to your district and borough level parent leadership structures. So you have your CEC, which is 32 of them. And when we get to the next slide, we'll discuss it a little bit in details. You have your DLT, which is just like your SLT, but it's on a higher level where those reps that sit on the district wide level are on that team. You have your borough president's council, you have your high school borough president's council, then you have your district president's council, and then you have your district Title I parent advisory council. And all of these receive support from your FLC, which is your family leadership coordinator. Then on the citywide level, you have your PEP, which I just went over, which is the city school board. You have a CPAC, which is the Chancellor Parent Advisory, which provides support, and we'll talk about that in a later slide, for your district president's councils. You have your citywide councils on high school. You have your citywide councils on special ed. You have your citywide councils English language learners, and you have your citywide councils on D75. And all of these 6 councils receive support from, or all of these 6 part of the structures receive support from the Office of Family and Community Engagement. And if you notice, all the ones that have the red dot in them are required by New York State Education Law 2590. Next slide. So now we get into the breakdown. So we have the 32 community education councils, and then we have the 4 citywide. And we just give you a few minutes to review, and this is the makeup of the 4 citywides. So the Citywide Council on High Schools receive 3 appointees, 1 from the Public Advocate, 1 from CCSE, which is you all, 1 from CCELL, which is the Citywide Council on English Language Learners. Then we get down to the Citywide Council on Special Ed, which received 2 appointees, both from the Public Advocates, same thing for English Language Learners, and same thing for D75. All received 2 appointees from the Public Advocate, and all of these citywide councils and district councils have high school students that sit on as non-voting members. Next slide. So, as I said earlier, this is the structure of the support for, from, if we start at the bottom, you have your PTAs, and it gives you a little description of what your PTAs do. And then you go to your borough-wide, and then you have CPAC, which is supporting all of those structures. The same thing for your Title I. You have your Title I PACs, you have your DPAC that support Title I PACs, and then you have your city PAC that supports all of the DPACs that provide support for the PACs. Next slide. What we did here was we tried to get together all the regulations that have parents require parents. So this is regulations everywhere from zoning to school utilization to the school safety planning committee, which a lot of parents don't know that the PTA president or designee of the PTA should be on there, as well as you have the regulations that deal with PTAs. You have the regulations that deal with buses for SLTs. You have C30, which is the regulation that deals with the hiring of principals and assistant principals. You have C37, which is the regulation that deals with the hiring of superintendents. You have the ethics, and then on and on. All of these regulations all have parent participation. So we think it's very important that parents understand and can find these regulations and know their rights under these regulations. Then the next slide is just the city education structure. We know that in New York City, we have mayoral control. So we have the mayor, and then that same branch, we have the chancellor and the PEP, which is the city board, which is the panel for education policy. And then it branched out for the citywide councils, the high school councils, the 32 superintendents, and then the CECs, and then the K-8, if you see the structure for education for the city. Next slide gives a little bit of history and background on mayoral control and the times that it have been extended and where we're at now. So next control will be back up for renewal or discussion. So the last time was in 2019, which was extended for 3 years. Then in 2022, which was last year, where they added the additional members for the PEP. We are now at 23, and that goes into 2024. Last slide. And then just the last slide talks about the Parent Bill of Rights, and it's a link as well. And it just talks about what parents should know. So that is the presentation. I'm here to take any questions that you may have.
So if you have questions, can you please just raise your hand so we can then unmute you and allow you to ask questions.
I also see a question in the chat.
Do you want to read the question in the chat first?
The question is from Monique Lindsay. It says, Monique, if you're on and you want to speak, you have the opportunity to do so.
Thank you, but I do not want to speak. I just wanted to put that in, and we will be sending out a notice for everyone who has participated and wants to participate in the citywide leadership team. Thank you. And congratulations to all our new members.
Thank you.
Francine?
Yeah, so mine is more of a comment than a question, and probably a question in there somewhere, but I just noticed in the slide that had the different levels of leadership in the different councils. I just think it's worth noting that District 75 was not represented in that part of it, right? Because District 75 has its own, at least I didn't see it. I'm having a hard time visualize right now, so it's possible that I didn't see it, but you know, District 75 has its own DLT, it has its own president's council. The parent associations for District 75 are really exist in a separate. All of the District 75 kind of parent and stakeholder participation exists really separate from, in my mind, as a parent, that's how it feels, and as a PA president, separate from the larger structure. Many D75 schools don't have functioning PAs, and therefore don't have functioning SLPs. And so I really appreciate this presentation, and I think that it's really especially relevant for our D75 families because they're not functioning the same way that community schools are functioning, even in the way that they should. I guess I just want to kind of point that out, and I know we talk about this a lot at the District 75 DLT and at the President's Council's meetings that, you know, we're bound by all of these chanted regulations, and at the same time, we don't have functioning bodies in our schools. And so it's almost like people don't know what they don't know because we don't have these bodies in place, even when we try to.
So I have a question, Juan. If I was a parent just hearing all that you shared several different levels of leadership and parent guidance within the DOE structure. If I was a parent at the local level and I had issues, say I had issues, whether it started within my school, and you had to kind of lead me through this maze of leadership to get support, and say I can't get it at the local level in my school. What would be your advice? And say maybe I can't go to the DOE to get answers, but how could parent leaders support parents who are just coming in? I just have a child in school, I'm having some issues, and I'm sort of struggling to get heard or support. What would be the ways to navigate this, or where should parents start?
So your question is if you don't want to go through the DOE structures?
Right, like say I tried that. I went to my school, the principal didn't work. I went to the superintendent office and I kind of got the runaround, or I went to that family engagement person. I mean, the instruction about parent leaders are there also not only to support what happens in the DOE, but we're also here as parent voice and parent support. So if I had to navigate this.
Yeah, so they're
what would you
definitely
say?
there are definitely outside organizations like the one that I lead, which is the Education Council Consortium, that provide professional learning, that provide support for parent leaders. You have advocates for children that support there. You have AQE that provide support. So they're definitely outside organizations that will provide the uncharted support for parents. But I think the first thing is how, you know, we really encourage families to work within the structure that they have, right? And hold those folks accountable to provide what they're supposed to provide for students, right? It doesn't make sense to have all of these structures, to have these things in place, to give superintendents all of this power, and then when we have issues, they're not resolving them. So I would say definitely we should start with working within the structure, and then there are outside agent organizations that definitely provide support in helping families get exactly what they need around everything from IEPs to, busing. You have PIS that deals with busing issues. You have all these organizations that are here to really support parent leaders and parents in general when they feel like the DOE is not listening to them.
Well, I had a question that's in relation to that, Quan. So this is more for the structures of PA and SLT. How do we hold, so it's a two-pronged question. Number one is, how do we make the trainings more plain language for the families that are joining these organizations so that they really understand? Because a lot of the trainings deal with chances, regs, and things are just foreign to a lot of the families. And then secondarily to that, how do we hold them accountable to adhere to the calendar and how the structures for SLT and PTA, PA are supposed to function?
I think, that's so I think first we have to equip parents to understand what their rights are, right? And what they should be expecting. Like when you show up to an SLT meeting, right? There should be a budget. The CEP should be there. There should be a discussion every meeting around the CEP and goals, right? And holding them accountable is, if that's not happening, reaching out to the superintendent and having a conversation with the superintendent about it. And if that's not happening, then taking it to the next level, which is if it's around SLTs and Title I, that's this Division of School Leadership, right? And I think that the structure, the DOE structure, right? If we can go back to that for 1 minute.
Which slide was that?
The DOE
That
structure,
slide, I want to say 3.
I think the first.
That was the third slide.
At the beginning.
Number 3.
Yeah.
Really understanding the structure and understanding who's responsible for what, right? So we know that every 4 years, there's different leadership may come in depending on the mayor, and things are shuffled around, right? But understanding that anything that deals with schools is under Dr. Rux, right? And knowing who she is and understanding how to get in touch with her. Anything that deals with, regulations, and it's under Kanita Lloyd, like, understanding anything that deals with the general counsel or enrollment or district planning, that goes under Dan Weisberg. Anything around safety and security, that goes under Mark Ramperson. So, anything instructionally, teaching and learning, that's Quintana. Like understanding that early childhood is Dr. Ahmad. Like understanding those things in those places and building those connections, right? And that's for us to do as councils, right? To really understand the capacity that we have to really support our parents.
Thank you. I have a question. So if you're a parent watching this or attending this and you want to be involved but aren't ready to like jump into like a citywide council, what is a real good way for them to start getting involved at their schools?
I think that I won't say it that way. I think that it's important that you start at your school, right? You volunteer at your school, right? You have your PTA, your Title I, your class representatives. Different schools have different other things other than those major structures. They have other things that folks should get involved in first, right? And then you move on. Once you get that, you move on to the next. You go to your district-wide level, right? And then you go to your city-wide level and you continue to move up. And then it's just and I think this is the thing that we were talking to with the former administration. How do we tap into those parents that want to be involved, but cannot always be, don't have the time to be on the PTA, right? Don't have the time to come in and do certain things in school. Like, how do we connect to those parents? And I think that has to be the focus. Like, how do we connect to those families that are not as active? Because it's more them than the families that are active, right? And how do we tap into them? I hope I answered your question.
Yeah, so it sounds like it's a partnership, right? So it's about the parents that are involved, and it's also about the schools and about the school different levels of structure. And I think that's a really important thing. And I think we think about it a lot on CCSE is how do we make our meetings, how do we make the work that we do most accessible to parents that may not otherwise be able to be engaged. And so you can encourage your parent to be engaged all you want, but if you make it all your meetings at 11 o'clock on Tuesday mornings, for engagement, and that parent is a single parent who works full-time, they're never gonna be able to come to one of those meetings.
Yeah, and it's
Yeah.
definitely about knowing your community, right? Like, it's definitely about knowing your community, like the SLTs that at 2:45 when parents are picking students up. That's not convenient for parents, right? That's not convenient. And these things are not supposed to be made for the convenience of the school, but made for the convenience of the parents. So how do you empower parents to know, like, listen, I can't make a 12 o'clock SLT meeting or 1 o'clock SLT meeting or even a 2:30 SLT meeting. I need this SLT meeting to be at 5 o'clock or 6 o'clock once I get home from work. So it's really about how do we strengthen and help folks understand what they can ask for and what they should be demanding.
I have a final question before we move on. If you have sort of been on PTAs and you're sort of moving a little further along the spectrum of this parent leadership thing, when you get to CECs or at that district level or citywide level, is there any advice you can give parents who want to get involved at that level? They've kind of done the PTAs, they know the SLTs, but they really want to get involved in, changing the broader, the macro issues that we see within our system. How can a parent get actively involved, and what would be the suggestion?
So I say that when you begin to step out your school, it's no longer about your one individual child, right? And even when you're in your individual school and on the PTA, it should not be about your one individual child, right? But definitely when you begin to get to the district level in the city level, it has to be about all children, right? And how do we make this system equitable for all children? So my advice would be for those who are interested in moving out of the PTAs and have done that work is now to go into the district-wide and the city-wide is understanding that it's not only about your child, but it's about all the children, because the decisions that we make on CECs, the decisions we make on president's councils, the decisions we make on DPAC affects all children in that district, and it can't just be about your one child, right? So once we begin to know that, and also attending meetings, right? When we looked over the applications and we looked at a lot of folks that applied and ran, never ever went to an SLT meeting. I mean, to a CC meeting, right? So it's important that you know what you're getting yourself into. I'll say this and I'll stop. I remember when I first signed up, my principal told me it's just one meeting. It's once a month. You go there, you do what you got to do, and you leave. And it's definitely not one meeting, and it's not once a month, right? It's really how effective you want your council to be is how much you put into it.
Just a couple of comments in the chat that I think speak to some of them. So Monique just said, I think to a lot of the points that you're making, that when it comes to PTA and PA, having this knowledge really helps parents understand the power that they have in their schools, right? I think a lot of the questions like what Sanaya asked and Carolyn asked, these questions about accountability when you're not getting things at the school levels, because that is much of what we see, right, in special education. And so really having this knowledge and understanding that you do actually have more power at the school level than you're often led to believe. And then Paulette pointed out that we have some colleagues here from CCSE 75, and Paulette pointed out that SLT meetings are governed by state law, and that they're supposed to be scheduled with all members, right? If it's not the school inviting you in, right? It's, as you said, it's a collaboration. So that collaboration means you're not summoned, right? It should happen at a time when everybody can attend and everybody can participate. I think
Yes, I definitely think with the knowledge that we all have, we have some experts that's been doing this work for a long time, right? I think it's time for us to begin to strategize and really talk how do we inform parents to know these things, right? I've been at SLT meetings where you ask about a budget and they're like, oh, you can go right online and get the budget. Like, no, when you come to this meeting, you should have budgets printed out for all of your members, right? Parents should have access to that information. So it's definitely about, yes, Camille, building capacity, building capacity.
Okay, well, thank you, we really appreciate you being here tonight. It was really important to have someone to come share with other parents about the importance. Oh, I see Paulette hand up. Paulette, you have a question?
I do. I just have a quick question for Naquan. Most of my experience has been on a citywide level. And, with CCD 75, we're tasked to really support these new members that are coming on the local CECs. And there's been some major confusion about school liaisons and how they're assigned. As of right now, like I've been able to attend 4 meetings in Brooklyn, and only 1 out of those 4 districts actually had D75 schools like on the list of their liaisons. No one else did. And it's very confusing because again, we have new members coming on and maybe 1 or 2 returning members. And I think, and I don't want to speak out of turn, but I feel like they're kind of taking advantage of the fact that there are new members coming on who may not realize what their commitments are and what the opportunities are. And when it comes to like assigning school liaisons and what that looks like and what the responsibilities and the protocols are, they're kind of being left in the dark. They're just being thrown into, here's a bunch of schools and, go ahead and figure out how you're going to contact them. So I would love you being a seasoned and very prolific and active member of your community, if you can walk us through like the process of assigning the schools and what those school visits actually look like.
Yeah. So we're having this conversation now. We're actually in District 16 are not assigning our schools into next month. And one reason is because we do not have a D75 representative yet, right? But I've spoken to several of my colleagues across Brooklyn, definitely about like, what are we doing? How are we doing this? How are we going to make sure that we're inclusive, right? The purpose of having this D75 seat is not to exclude them to D75. It's to make sure that we're bringing it in so that we're getting a review of all the schools within our district, right? So one of the things I would love to see, I didn't want to get into it because I didn't know how much time I had. I'll start with CCSE because that's what we're here, and then I'll go to D75. One of the major things that I would love to see, and when I applied to be on CCSE, was one of the things I wanted to bring as an option, but I'm going to give it to you all because I'm not there, is connecting with those IEP reps on the council, right? You have 32 IEP reps that should be attending these meetings, right? And coming back to our districts and talking about what they learned and how we can all work together. The same thing with L, same thing with now the D75, right? How do we connect those district members to the citywide councils, right? So that they can get support. It's but so much support in the district I can give, but here go a whole board of experts that they can be getting support from. So how do we do that ourselves? I don't think the DOE is going to do that. I don't think the DOE is going to require that, right? So how as a council, how do we tap into those 32 district representatives, right? And then Paulette, to your point, so one of the things I've been talking to my colleagues about is how do we make things inclusive? So we in District 16, we're one of the smallest districts in the city. I go back and forth with Naomi in District 1 about who's the smallest, right? But we don't have that many D75 schools. So our thing was that we were going to assign the D75 representatives to the D75 schools, but also pair them with the traditional public school parent for a representative for that school so that they're collaborating. Because technically, according to the chancellor regulations, those PTAs are supposed to be collaborating. Those PTAs are supposed to be having joint meetings because they're all in the same building. And we have to stop this separation and come together so that we can be strong.
So one of the things I do want to say upon is we as a council last term decided that with the new appointing of the District 75 reps, as well as the special ed person that is on all the councils, that we plan to instill in this term a way to meet with them, to provide support, to also find out as a council what is happening around the city. Because we are limited in our capacity to know what's happening locally on the ground, but they can be very instrumental in sharing information with us. And then we can be of support to helping them become more familiarized with councils and what to do, and even attending some of their meetings to support them if need be. And so I think, we are on the same page in terms of the council and thinking about how to really utilize these seats to become more connected and cohesive as parents, but also to get policies and things changed that's going to support all children across the spectrum of the Department of Education, and not just my local school.
You're muted. Wait, we lost his sound. You have to unmute yourself because ours.
Oh, you have to unmute yourself, Nicole.
I'm sorry. I'll say this and I'll stop. So that we would love, so the organization, the Education Council Consortium provides support for parent leaders, right? And we work with several presidents. We don't work with every president, right? But we work with the majority of presidents, right? And one of the things that we want to, me and Paulette have been talking about this since last year, is like really coming up with some framework for presidents so that they can really support the D75 folks coming on, but not only the D75, the L and the IEP, because I was an IEP rep. And I'm going to be very honest, when I first got on, I would come to all the meetings, and then I just stopped coming, right? And that was nothing on you all, that was something on me. And we have to encourage the IEP rep to explain to them the importance of coming to this citywide collaboration to bring back information and to bring information that their district is having.
Yeah, I think, as I said, I think we really felt that too, as members last term. And now that, so who's back and who's here, this was very much in keeping with a really big goal that we have for this term. And I want to add to that also, with our District CCD 75 colleagues here, is also to build more collaboration with that council as well, right? That there's just a lot of silos. And so we're hoping to both do more outreach with those 32 IEP reps and especially the D75ers, but also in collaboration with because I think everything that you've said, that you brought up tonight, and and I just wanted to add that we also want to do collaborations with ELS, because especially with CHOP releasing that report that 64% of IEPs children who are of non-English language are not receiving the services that they need. So we need to make more partnerships, and ELS is one of those. And we also understand that to do that, we have to be intentional about it, right? It's one thing for us to sit here and say that, but we are actually discussing really intentionally, rather than just saying, here our doors open, how can we go to them? How can we create spaces where people can come in and collaborate with each other? That we understand that it's not just because we wish it will not make it happen. We actually have to put some mechanisms in place that hopefully will stay as part of this council regardless of who's here.
So we just would like to thank you, Nicole, for sharing that presentation and sharing some very mindful and great comments about how parents can be engaged. Unfortunately, we don't have 6 members here, so the other part of the business that we had to share, I'm not sure, Anthony, how to do this, because we really cannot move through with only 4 of us here. And I was trying to let the presentation go on a little longer to try to give the 2 members time to come here, and I just don't think, maybe we can make a motion to do the second presentation because it's really to help them. I don't mind sharing it with the public, but Anna is here, but I think if we do it now, we need to do it again because they're going to need the information.
And I see that Christine still has hand raised, so I was gonna suggest that if we do a motion to sort of revisit the presentation when there's more of us here, maybe we could open up our CCSE 75. I think some of us with VHF here. Maybe we could take this opportunity to allow other council members who are here to have a dialogue and see what since we're all beginning.
So Chris, Ms. Angel, if you want to unmute yourself, if you have a question or comment, we'll open.
Yes, thank you so much. I have a question. I am a returning member for CCD 75. So in essence, I'm still kind of new. And I know ECC and you guys have been very supportive. My question is for Naquan. Will ECC be giving guidance again for people who are new to the councils? Because the orientation didn't do it. I know people tried their best, but that wasn't it. And we are not in a space where we can fully make sure these people are onboarded correctly, and we need help. And I'm just asking, I know when I first came in, that presentation that you guys did in all the different breakout rooms, it was great. We need that level of help. Will you be doing that again?
Yeah, so we are at this moment building our curriculum that we will be providing. We try to really step away from, doing that, right? And that's why we change our mission, we change our, but it seemed like we have to at this point. So yes, we are building our curriculum that we will be releasing. Our first supporters meeting will be August the 11th. And then at that meeting, we will be telling everyone when we're going to be doing certain professional developments. We do have some of the board members on this call as well. So I was actually looking to drop in the link. So if Paulette or Camille, if you can drop the link of how to sign up, that would be helpful, because I was just trying to figure that out. And we're definitely we're ready. I'm willing and able to provide the support. We've done it before, and we're willing to do it again.
Thank you. So what we're going to do is open up our public comment session right now. Due to the fact that we don't have quorum, we're unable to do business or really continue on with our agenda. So if you have questions for CCSE, if you have concerns, we also would like, if individuals have things they would like to see this council take on, or issues that may be happening in your schools or in your community that relates to children with special needs, and you really want us to look into it, work with you on it, this is the opportunity. Anything that you want to share with us, or you feel that is a need, we would really love to hear from the public in ways that we can become better as a council. So if you have questions, you can just raise your hand and we'll call on you.
And while people are collecting their thoughts, if I could just throw a couple of things out there. New school year or summer session, it's never too soon to talk about busing. We're already aware of the fact that for summer busing, in addition to the usual issues we have about pickups and drop-offs and times and who's getting extended day and who's not, there's been several issues around air-conditioned buses. So I want to just throw out there that we have you can say this probably than I can, but the law has changed. There is no such thing as a child who should be on a bus without air conditioning.
If they have an
If they have nine. Is it just for us?
It's only for IEPs.
So some parents are being told, I do know this in District 75, some parents are being told that they have to have air conditioning on their IEP. That is not true, right? We do not have to have air conditioning on our IEP. So if, as you go out into communities, you hear people, because I'm seeing it pop up in chats and in Facebook groups, that people are having issues, especially around air conditioning on buses. CCD 75 and CCSE both have busing committees. They have not stopped running, even though we have switched terms. So definitely reach out to our inboxes. I can't put in the chat right now, but I can the email addresses. That's one issue. SYEP. I have experience with SYEP in District 75. I just got out today that some of the ways that summer youth employment, which is SYEP, ran certain ways in certain schools last year where students were taking classes that was part of their SYEP. Without warning, they changed the systems. So today, a bunch of students in a school in Manhattan learned that they are not earning the money they thought they were earning. So if you hear of any issues around SYEP, for high school students, SYEP for special education students in District 75, also please reach out and let us know. This was a shock. It was a shock to the school, it was a shock to the students. It seems incredibly unfair to change the game midway through. Yeah, so those are just a couple of issues that I've seen arise as we this summer. I don't know if anybody else wants to share anything.
Do we have anyone in the public comment section who has something they would like to share? You raise your hand.
Paulette.
Paulette?
Yeah, so yesterday there was actually a landmark decision that came down through the court system for a 20-year-old lawsuit on behalf of families in the Bronx that were not only in regards to how long impartial hearing dates were it was taking for them to get their dates, but also the distribution of RSAs and the failure for them to be able to fill it. And by doing so, it left students with disabilities without related services for years. We're not even talking about a number of months. We're talking about years. So the federal courts actually came down with a decision to implement what they call a state special master, who has put out 40 obligations for the Department of Education to comply with within the 2024-2025 year. So they have a little over a year to actually put these implementations into place. The bulk of it tend to be in regards to impartial hearing and how the DOE is processing them, and making sure that any requests for an impartial hearing, the date is given within the 65-day time frame. But the DOE is the things that are going to affect our families is that parents will be able to ask for compensatory services straight off the bat from the school in order, instead of trying to find a provider through an RSA. There is also more oversight from the state level in terms of compliance and how related services are going to be rolled out. It's 40 different obligations, and the decision was just released yesterday. So I'm still working through the minutia of the the language. It is very dense legal language, but this is a win for families, especially those who have been struggling, to get services through impartial hearing. And this benefits not only students that are presently DOE students, but also students that have aged out of our system that never got their impartial hearing dates. So I think that if we as a collective of special education advocates, both D75 and CCSE and otherwise, that we think about how we can make this information parent friendly and parent facing, and then figure out how we can disseminate this information out to our families so that they can understand what it's going to look like on the school level. My major concern, because of the way this language has been rolled out, is that because we already know that there is existing vacancies in areas of related services, such as speech and OT and PT, especially in the area of bilingual providers, that I fear that this is going to increase caseloads immensely for those who are still employed in the DOE, and unfortunately may cause an unattainable situation, which may cause a mass exodus of these particular providers. So, I would love for us to figure out some time and a particular platform for us all to work together on this in terms of like the various stakeholders, the parents, the service providers, those who are tasked to do the assessments and the referrals, and principals, and figure out like what the struggle is going to look like with this particular new oversight coming in. But I'll make sure that in the chat, I'll put the Chalkbeat article, which is so far the most easily digestible article about this particular decision, so that our families can read up about it. And then, we can offline figure out a day that we can all kind of come together with Advocates for Children, because they were the organization behind the lawsuit initially, and getting their expert opinion on what it is that should be rolled out as well. And that's it for me.
Paulette, just to add on to that too, I know that the OTs voted down the contract, the union contract, and there's a lot going on back and forth about having the leadership at the UFT to go back to the table to negotiate, and so it's a pretty tenuous situation right now too, so that also will probably have an effect on our kids and their services as well.
Yeah, that's a huge issue. I mean, we have major union issues going on across the board between, the Writers Guild, the SAG, and UFT passing this, but the OTs and PTs voting it down. So, that's an ongoing conversation. And, thankfully we do have allies and people that we can, you know, patch in to this conversation, because we really want to see what it's going to look like in real time for them and how it's going to affect the implementation of services to our families.
Thank you, Paulette. I see Camille hands raised, and then we're going to have a roll call for our, another member has joined us, but Camille, you can go first.
Hi, everyone. Congratulations. And I am really looking forward to working with you all this year. I wanted to just add on to what Paulette had mentioned. I have noticed that on the new IEPs, there is a new box there around page 16 called compensatory services. And there's this little checkbox. It says, does the student require additional services to address lost skills and or lack of expected progress due to the periods of remote and blended learning beginning March 2020? And then on mine, they checked off no. Now, I have a pending case with them where I am trying to receive compensatory services. And so that should say yes. Like, had I not noticed that, any opportunity I had to dispute probably would disappear. So I just want to elevate that because this is something totally new to IEPs. And I have been trying to ask other parents if they have that on their IEP too, and they do. So definitely keep your eyes open for that. There's another part of it here that says the student does not require compensatory services for the following reason. The student benefited from special education recovery services received during the 21-22 school year, and additional services are not required. My child did not receive any special education recovery services in that time period. So these are like two blatant lies. And I really would encourage everybody to fine tooth comb their new IEPs, because I think what happens is, you know, we're looking at them, we're thinking, are the services there? Are the goals right? Are the, you know what I mean? Like, you're looking at the usual things, and this is something that is not usual and just got added in there. And so please do spread the word and let people know that they need to be looking at that section. So thank you so much. Thanks for all you do. I really appreciate you all.
I think we have to respond to.
Yeah, I have a response to that. So Camille, and for other parents that are here, so the DOE made this, I don't know why they made this decision, but they made this decision to call the services they were going to give students who didn't get the full benefit from the special education recovery services. They made I think, very conscious decision to call those services also compensatory services, but they're very different from, like, my child did not receive speech all year and now he needs compensatory services that you go through in partial for. It's a little bit different, even though they gave it the same name. I don't know why they did that. The other issue is that it's twofold. So they have to, in order to finalize an IEP or to even print the IEP or exit out of the IEP, it's a required box that they have to check on the IEP, which is a fail-safe, so they don't forget to do it. But so in my case, I'll just share from my own personal experience in our IEP. My son definitely needed that, but they did not have the capacity to provide it at the time of his IEP. So the only way for them to move through the IEP was to check no, so that they could finish the IEP. And so instead I was like, I need you to put yes, and then put a comment that the services we don't have the resource to services at this time, but we're acknowledging that he needs it, or some kind of note there. But they're kind of stuck because of their, like, for lack of a better word, they're like their computer programs system.
So this
Is part of the issue.
so thank you so much for Camille, because I would just say also, I just went to IEP from I didn't even know this.
They're supposed to bring it up. They're supposed to bring it up.
It speaks to another issue that I was hoping also to talk to you about, Camille, as a representative on the Citywide Council on High Schools, which is there is this phenomenon that we all have experienced of the IEP checkbox, right? And the drop down list. And I'm noticing that as students are exiting out of high school, not all schools, but many schools, your transition plan out of high school, it's very just, it's like a, what do you call it? It's almost like a template, right? So I have a son who just graduated high school and got one of those, and it had very little to do with actually him as a person. And so I'm thinking, you know, especially on the high school level, as a high school representative, this is something that I would love to look more into with your help. And really, it's just this whole issue about making IEPs, actually the IEP is an individual.
Right.
And actually
Even be doing by the system, it should be.
and I think in the space of transition services, this is the place where it is really,
Yes.
anybody who has taken those surveys and had a transition plan, moving from middle to high school or high school out, I think has often experienced that it's just this kind of drop down template that has very little to do with the actual individual student. So.
And I just want to say that just because your school said they don't need compensatory services due to COVID, doesn't mean that you can't also ask for compensatory services because they're not servicing your child's needs in general.
Camille, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I just wanted to thank you so much for elevating that issue, Francine. I 100% agree with you. And I went through a lot of this with my son's school just in the last couple of months about transitional services and career transition. And I found on the NYSED website incredible documents that really detail what the career counseling should look like and what the transition services should look like and why these are not shared with parents as part of a policy. I have no idea, but I will get those links and send them to you all. And if you could share those, and I will share those as well, and we can start there. But this could be a great opportunity to put together a small working group, just to, you know, look at how high schools are working with their students with disabilities in this way. So thank you for bringing that up. I really appreciate it, and I'm on it. Thank you.
Thank you, Camille. Rose, can you do roll call now?
Oh, yes, we just have one member join us, and that's Diana Abrams. Can you please introduce yourself to the audience?
Hi.
Hi, my name is Diana Abrams. I'm from District 22, and I have a 13-year-old boy with ADHD who will soon be transitioning to high school. So I'm here. To help.
Okay, do we have any other comments, public comments? Well, we're still one member short, so unfortunately, we cannot move forward with the rest of our meeting. I guess we should do our presentation because it's at least 2 new members.
Sure.
So we have a second presentation that we, the CCSE, will be presenting. And it's just basically on our council and basic information about who we are, what we do, and helping new members as well as those parents who may be new to CCSE to understand our role and how we're here to support and not only work with the Department of Education, but to work with parents who've elected us to these seats, and just making the process a little more transparent and easy for everyone to be a part of. So do we have the slide? So I'll be reading my own because I did not. Yes. It's not really that. Oh, I can read this.
Can you,
And The name of the presentation is Introduction to the Basics for this Citywide Council on Special Education for members and for the public. So what is, oh, that's too big.
Just give us 1 minute.
1 minute. Oh,
Maybe 1 minute.
No, like.
No, you can read it.
Okay.
Do you have it? Oh,
That-
you don't have a PDF? I have a PDF, I need to know one.
That's fine.
Well, she needs to put it on the screen.
Okay.
One Jill is from your.
Well, she needs to see the slide, so I'll just send it to her.
Do we have any other comments? You can please put them in the chat, or while we're waiting, if you want to raise your hand.
You want me to email it to you, Rose? Yes. I want to. I want the. Okay, I sent it to you as well.
Oh. So while we wait, I just wanted to also mention that we actually have 2 vacancies on CCSE. And our student member is seat is also vacant. So you should apply through face, right, for the student.
So we have this, right now we have a seat on the council, representative for the citywide council on high schools, and our student member, right, those applications. No, the resignation. Right. The resignation that has.
Oh, okay. To be in that was right. Okay.
Go back.
So as I was stating, we just had a few issues around our vacancy, so we apologize for the confusion, but we do have the student seat that is available if students are interested. They would have to be in high school, am I correct? High school student with an IEP, and then we have 1 vacancy on CCSE. If you're interested in applying, you can apply. You can reach out to our AA or Faith.
Yeah, I'll be sending out the.
Okay. Okay, so you can reach out to our administrative assistant, Rose, and she can definitely get you the information in the application.
And you put the email address in there? Yeah.
So what is a CCSE? What is the Citywide Council for Special Education? The CCSE is an advisory board concerned with the education of students with disability. The CCSE is responsible for advising and commenting on the establishment of committees, subcommittees on special education and community school districts, and for issuing an annual report on how effective students with disabilities are being served by the New York City Department of Education, and making recommendations for improvements for those students. The CCSE must hold at least 1 public meeting per month, during which the public may discuss issues facing students with disabilities. The CCSE has 12 members, 9 are elected by members of the community, district, borough, and District 75 President's Council, and must be parents of students with an IEP who currently receive special education services that are provided and or paid for by the New York City Department of Education. 2, we also have 2 members that are appointed by the public advocate and must be individuals with extensive experience and knowledge in education, training, or employed individuals with disabilities. And we then have one non-voting seat that is occupied by a student, a high school student with an IEP.
Next slide.
How do we support our communities? Through policy. We advise on various education policies, programs, and initiatives with New York City Department of Education and local school districts. We conduct a town hall. The council is required to host a town hall with the chancellor to discuss relevant topics and moderate community discussion around issues with children with special needs. We have an annual report that we prepare and distribute to New York City, distribute to the New York City Special Education Office, local elected officials, as well as the public and local CECs on the current state of special education. We also provide recommendations, and as of last year, we have officially requested follow-up to our recommendations. And the last thing is our IEP conference. It's an annual IEP conference, which is hosted by us and is meant to bring critical topics with recommendations and solutions to the local school district community via local CECs, local IEP parents, as well as presidents are invited. This past year, we actually opened it to the public. So if you were a parent, whether your child had a special need or not, you were welcome to come to our IEP conference. The next one.
Over here. Sorry, we actually have our sixth member.
So we'll pause just for 1 second. Can you just introduce yourself to the public?
Welcome.
Welcome here.
Jump right in.
So much. This is Mohammed Awal, like one of the new council.
And then just if you want to share a little something about yourself.
I don't know, I just jumped in this meeting. I'm from Bronx actually, 37 district.
And how
I have like a PS583. I have 2 kids, one my daughter and one my son. And new one I have like 3 kids actually. And it's going to be 3K. And also I'm a city employee. Actually, I work as New York City Department of Design and Construction. I'm a city project manager there.
Thank you. So what we're doing right now is we're going for a presentation, just introducing the public as well as new members to what we do as a council and giving information on our roles, responsibilities, and other things. And then afterwards, we'll open it up for the public to comment.
And then we have questions as well.
Okay, wait till you're.
So. Yeah, I don't know.
Okay.
So Sonara covered what a CCSE is, how many members we have, our appointees, and how the obligation that we have in supporting the community, the report, like the office and all. There are other ways in which we support the community as well. One of them is that we pass resolutions. Resolutions generally address either the administrative needs, we take a position on a certain issue, or we call for action. Right, resolutions are voted on as by the whole council, and if passed, they are sent to base and other stakeholders. We also conduct surveys. The best example of this, of course, is the busing survey that we did last year, in which we were able to capture the sort of lived experiences of parents across the district, system-wide rather, and the issues that they were having with busing, and then turn that into advocacy and action for those parents. We also have working groups. We form committees and we pick up issues, and this is where, especially for new members, if there is an issue that you are particularly interested in, this is the place where you can say, this is what I understand. So we have working groups on district planning, where we really dig into where special education services are happening. It's very focused on where district 75 programs don't really exist, but other places where special education you know, you've heard of food deserts, right? We have special education deserts. And so there's a lot of things we do on that, but. Yeah, okay, yeah, I won't say any more about that. Right, working groups can be remote. So that unlike these meetings, which we are obligated, the obligation is to meet in person. Unless there is an emergency, working groups can be remote. Heather will talk more about the groups. We also are working with the Department of Education and the Office of Special Education on pilot programs. This year, we are working on a pilot program on assistive technology. I have this in District 5. Carolyn and I are working with at the high school level and at the elementary level. And I'm happy to preliminarily report that I just got word that the Harbor School is going to be the first, is on deck to be the first ever high school assistive technology pilot program in the city. So and then there's an intention to extend that throughout the lower grades as well. And then we do advocacy. It's not uncommon for parents to come to us to say, I need help with my child, I have a problem with an IEP, I have a problem with placement. The presentation we had earlier, we talked about the different structures and systems of leadership. You know, we often have parents who come to us because those structures have failed them and we don't know where to go. And so a lot of times we attend IEP meetings with people, we sort of do what we can to put people in touch with the right offices and the right people so they can get the proper supports and placements for their kids. Next slide. So the roles of CPA members, CPFE members. We have 6 positions on the executive board. There are 2 co-presidents. These are dictated in our bylaws. And for really specific descriptions of these positions, we can look in the bylaws. The co-presidents work together in collaboration to run the meetings, to liaise with the AA, make sure the reimbursements go through. The co-presidents act as a voice for the council, but they are not the voice of the council, right? So there are a lot of committees and meetings and positions where sometimes they are open to presidents of the councils. So the president's job is to reflect the opinions of everybody, right? And I would say that we are absolutely able to say, so even though traditionally the job of the co-president is to run meetings, we are allowed to sort of collectively vote and say, we can pass that around to people. And it is not a dictatorship in a way. The first vice president supports the co-presidents. If the co-presidents cannot perform a certain task or duty, first vice president steps in, and then after that, the second vice president steps in. And a lot of this has to do with making sure, again, presence at meetings, representation of the council in various spaces, and then also making sure that the administrative tasks happen, right? We have agendas, we have meeting dates, we have especially people's reimbursements.
You show the public.
Yes. The recording secretary keeps the minutes. You help with the agenda, keeps collaboration going, supports Rose and anything that she needs. This Rose does a lot and she needs support. So the recording secretary sort of steps in and does more of that. And the treasurer, because the treasurer deals with the budgeting and money and makes sure.
The recording secretary also reads the resolution into the.
Oh, yeah. So we have learned the hard way that the best resolutions are short and half-paged. So those are the 6 board members. The remaining members of the CCSE are, of course, active participants and contribute in a variety of ways. And all of these, even though again the board is board, there's a lot of sharing of responsibilities and a lot of stepping in when people cannot, especially be present in places. All members, whether board members or not board members, are encouraged to attend other meetings. Again, a conversation we had before you all came was about the support that we would like to be providing, and actually are supposed to be providing to the 32 IEP representatives and the 30 on the CECs. And so that's one of the things that's going to be a big part of this current term, is to make sure that we have communication between our members and those IEP reps, and by extension, collaboration with CCD 75 and the new District 75 reps that are on CCC. And so, again, it's really an active role, right? The point is to sort of, as much as you can, act as liaison between the stakeholders and the public, other council members, and sort of bring those issues to this space so that parents feel like they have a place where they can get information. Is that?
That works.
I'm gonna hand it on. Okay, so moving on to CCSE member responsibilities. These are hybrid meetings that we worked on with the bylaws last year, but just for clarity for everyone involved. Hybrids only go into effect when we have six in person having quorum. After which, then we enact the hybrid rules. And hybrid rules are really meant for extenuating circumstances. If you've got a family emergency, if your child becomes ill, if you're gonna be in Florida, you can attend hybrid. However, when you're in the hybrid model and you're at a meeting, you do have to have your camera on, especially when you're speaking. So I know in the last meeting, I was returning from vacation at the airport and I had my camera on. Yeah, I do know it's uncomfortable, but it is what we have to do because we have to be able to see that we are present.
Especially if you're voting too.
Yeah, and I just want to really, I feel like this is a point that's very important to drive home. That this is not just because of our bylaws, this is the state law, the open meetings law, state law, we are bound by that law. And to also be clear, so people can really think about the commitment for the next 2 years, we are meeting a tweet today, we actually don't need a tweet. We move around all 5 boroughs, so the expectation is that all members will be present at all meetings, no matter where those meetings are located, unless it's extending circumstances. So I would just say, you know, for everybody to think really clearly about it, that feels like a commitment. And that is in addition to, to the other sort of commitments that come with this position. That people really just think clearly, because if we don't have 6 people in this room, it's not just that we can't do business. If you are online and we don't have 6 people in this room, your attendance online does not count. So that counts as an absence. And that again that's the open meeting laws. That's not our law. So I just want to really drive that. No, that's a good point. And I also want to drive the fact that because we have heard, childcare being an issue. Childcare is only an issue under open meetings law if it is a extenuating service. Your child unfortunately is sick and you have to go to the hospital. Member reimbursements allow for you to pay for childcare. So that covers if you need to, have your child with someone or need to, have accommodations for your child, but that is not part of the extenuating service. And we have the ability to vote as a council to. I think that this is right, Rose, if I'm wrong, that we have the ability to vote as a council to put some money aside to provide childcare at our meetings for our members. Yeah. So I mean, that is something, if that's a good reason for us all to show
that we have. I think it's really important that we voice that at some point.
Yeah.
That if we feel that people have childcare issues and it's something that you need to bring the child here, if we can figure out a way to support you. In making sure that one, your child is safe, and 2, you feel like you can be productive because you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna kind of move us along a little bit because we do have things on the agenda. Now that we have 6 people, we can kind of deal with the other issue that we have. So if I can just move us along. Carrie.
Yeah, so very quickly, just highlighting that the hybrid meetings have to be recorded. The meeting notice must state that video conferencing will be used. The public must be able to view the meeting via video where allowed, and technology must be used to meet the accessibility requirements. And with that, I will look for some headers to talk about the meetings. Yeah, or you have one more slide. No, next slide, please. Oh. I think you did just one. Yeah, I did it already. There. Okay, so the next slide. Yeah. So every member must attend all meetings unless excused with an absence, and an absence must be provided by 10 a.m. in the morning of the meeting with an email sent to Rose and the co-presidents. When attending hybrid, you have to enable your camera. I mentioned that. Submit your monthly membership reimbursements. This is on page 28 of the New York City Education Council handbook that you got at orientation. If you don't have it, we can get that for you. And there's copies in your folder as well on how to do that. And working collaboratively on the annual report in the IEP conference. Those are what we must do as a council. We encourage council members to ask questions. We're former new council members. We remember what it feels like to be new and feel intimidated and not know what's going on. We don't want you to have that experience. So we want you to feel comfortable. You can call us, you can email us, we can get on a chat, whatever. And we can help you, we can support you in your advocacy and your work. You can chair and volunteer as needed. So in committees, you can be the chair of the committee. If you have an interest in ADHD, for example, or something else, you can chair that committee. You can, you can make a motion, you can run that meeting at lunchtime because you don't have to be a person for the meetings. You have flexibility, and if you need clarity, yes.
And we really would love for you to participate, and so that it's not the same voice and speaking all the time. So yes, be a part of making motions or asking questions. I know in the beginning it may be able to be intimidating, just trying to absorb the information. But as we go on, our hope is everyone to feel like they have a place at the table and that their concerns and issues are heard. And so we can be dominating at times if we're used to doing it, but please participate, come to the table, be a part. This table is for all of us. It's not just for the members that have been here before. So I just want to reiterate that. And I guess now I'll turn it over to Heather for the last.
Do we have questions? It's coming. We just wanted to get that talk.
So one of the things, can we do this after, because we have to make it so we can, yeah.
So
Next slide. So, yeah,
we're gonna come back.
Okay, so CCSE Business Matters. So we have, every month we have a business meeting and calendar meeting, and those, it's required by law. The calendar meeting has to allow for public engagement and comment. And so, and we do work there, but a lot of our work happens in our communities. And currently we have annual report committee with IEP annual conference committee. We have a busing and transportation committee. We have district planning and enrollment committee. And then exclusion is and belonging committee. And so we encourage, if you have any interest in those, that you can okay, I'm gonna read that again. We have a budget committee. Okay, read this again. Okay.
Yeah, like you talk.
So this is where the work really happens. And what I love about, I'm going totally off slide, but what I love about the committees is it's not just a couple of members of the council getting together. It's a meeting that the public is allowed to come to, and the public is really encouraged to be very engaged in the committees with our council. I know when I ran the busing and transportation committee, we had public members and they took on roles and they did things as well to help get our busing survey out and things like that. So it's really a really great opportunity, not only for council members to be actively involved, but also for the public to come and be an active participant in the work that we're doing. And so I think committees are just absolutely important and really vital to the work that we do. And like I said, they can be virtual, which is great. I have my committees on my lunch hour on Tuesday afternoons, and that works for a lot of people, especially if you're a working parent. Sometimes at work is the only time you have childcare and you on your lunch break. They're a little bit looser than like our more formal meetings that we meet as a full council. So I encourage folks to get involved, and if you're interested in joining any of our committees, reach out to our inbox, and we can certainly get you connected. And this will come after we have elections at our next meeting. This will kind of also.
Which moves us into, I think this, I guess, if you don't mind, if we can just hold the questions if you have questions, so that we can begin to move through our agenda, because we don't want to be here all night, but we do want to respect people's time. And so if you have questions, you can put them in the chat, or we will make sure before we close out, we open up again for public comment, just to answer the questions around this presentation or any other thing that you would like to ask questions about. So the next item on our agenda is our committee reports. If we can probably table that, and kind of move to,
Very short.
okay,
Just really,
So-
regarding the transportation, I know, folks have been kind of on the, it's been in the ether for a while, but there is movement, there's a few different law firms that have signed on for the busing lawsuit, and they've been in contact with parents, they're strategizing the best way to file the class action lawsuit and under what kind of terms they can seek compensation and I don't know the legal terms, but there is movement going, so folks who are sitting going, wow, I definitely forgot about us, we did it, it's just it's a really big complicated process, but it is moving, the ball is moving and things are happening.
thank you, Heather. We normally would have community reports, but because our time is kind of winding down, we have a few really important things we need to discuss as a council. If we can bring our reports back next month, that would be much more helpful, just in terms of time. The next thing on our agenda is bylaws update.
Well, we wanted to put a motion, I wanted to put a motion that we, well, no, I'm not sure. I wanted to put a motion to change the meeting times prior to talking about the bylaws updates. Yeah. No, well, how do I do this? You move. I make a motion. To make a motion, because we spoke about, to make a motion to actually.
Currently, the bylaws are being updated, until it's official, you would like to present members here. And the suggestion of changing the meeting time from 6 to 6:30. While the August meetings, so that while you're updating the bylaws, you have to go. Once you update them and include that change, you'll have to vote on them to set every calendar meeting.
So you make.
But in the interim, while the bylaws being updated, you want to change the meeting dates to start at 6:30.
So you make it.
I make a motion, so we're in the process of updating the bylaws. So while the bylaws are being updated, I make a motion that we change the meeting time from 6 to 6:30, so we can officially put it into the bylaws. I second the motion.
That would be.
And then we have to vote. For the August.
I open the floor for discussion. Do anyone have?
Any of our members, Anna, on the call, or Mohammed, Diana?
Is 6:30 for the month of August?
That works fine for me. 6:30.
Third and August. August 3rd and 17th.
So that would be August 3rd and August 17th.
So the question is, are you, do you have any opinion about the meeting time? For the moment, to allow 30 minutes of ability for you to join, and we ultimately want to be.
So we'll present it, once the bylaws have been updated, we will then re-present it to be permanent on the bylaws. But temporarily for the month of August, we're asking, I think Carolyn made the motion that we move the meeting time to 6:30. So no.
We need to vote. All right, so the motion is on the table, it's been seconded, and now, can we just do a roll call or roll call vote it?
Okay, Diana Abrams, we are voting to change the meeting time from 6 to 6:30 for the August meetings. Yes or no? Muhammad Alan,
Yes.
Francine Almash, Dr. Sanai,
Yes.
Anna can vote, right? Anna,
Yes.
Carolyn Castro,
Yes.
Heather Daly.
Absolutely, yes.
Yes, we have 7 yeses
Thanks for the motion, passes. Thank
and the
you.
motion passes, yes.
Okay, the unfinished business is the next thing on the agenda, is our 2023-24 meeting schedule. If you look inside of your packet, it should be there, the information. It look like this.
They have a schedule that well as it's been about.
Yeah, it's scheduled.
In the back of it, you see the calendar year. So can I just ask a question? Is there any dates that we need to, just to kind of move through quickly? I know that you kind of looked at the dates that we need to actually change because either something, we had going on.
Well, as of right now, the meetings are the first and third Thursday of the month, except for in December, when we just do the Bible meeting. We have the Tuesday when one of them is going to be the so, and then in February is the Bible meeting. But the schedule for you guys to look at it to make sure there are no parent teacher.
Yeah, it's still.
November 17th.
May 15th, District 75 middle school parent teachers.
September 21st is parent teacher.
I think that was one that was supposed to have that.
Yeah.
So.
And September 14th is probably.
Can we just go down the line, start from September? So September 21st is parent teacher conference. That's the same day that we have our calendar meeting, right? It could be that day for some school.
September 21st is for middle school, so any middle school parent, any 75
Right.
is gonna have a conflict.
Right, so I'm saying that would be a conflict because even though I'm in middle school, we have kids with IEPs.
Yeah. My suggestion would be, could we do a combined meeting on the 7th, because the 14th is also parent teacher conference, so.
The problem with the 7th is that's the first day of school.
Oh, yeah.
The other option is just to, for only September, do a combined meeting, but on Thursday.
Okay.
I think we could like the last week, second was.
What day would that?
Oh, that's also parent teacher conference.
Maybe. So maybe we can choose a different day.
Yeah.
So, regardless of what it's going to be a week doing, either parent teacher conference or something.
I just want to get Anna, she went virtually, if she has any comment, Anna, you should feel free to join the conversation.
So I was just gonna give her a few dates and then she can. So, maybe a Wednesday. The 12th or the 19th. And if you have anything you want to say, you can always unmute yourself and just include yourself into the conversation. I don't know what people think about that day.
Which day did you say?
The 12th or the 19th?
That's Tuesday, you mean with the.
Tuesday or Wednesday,
The Wednesday.
So the 13th.
Oh, that's July. Sorry. Wednesday is the 13th or the 20th, right?
Yeah.
Which day works better for people?
I think right now I'm okay with either. It's really, have you had a moment to check your calendar?
I'm okay with either.
Okay.
So think it's better.
Anna?
It's close to the beginning of the year.
I think it's good to do it the week after school starts, because it gets the busing a couple days to kind of peek its way out, and then we can report on any like beginning of school year things that are happening.
Okay, and Anna, do you have any concerns about that date, the 13th?
No, that's fine. That's Wednesday, I believe. That's fine.
Yes. it is
Okay,
Wednesday.
so we will actually have a combined meeting that day.
How about you, Mohammed, is that good for you, the 13th?
13th.
September.
September?
Yeah, that's good.
Okay.
13 is-
Okay, so someone's gonna have to make a
Can
motion.
I make the motion to change the September meetings, both the calendar and business meeting, to a combined meeting taking place on September 13th?
So one of the things I was gonna ask, if we can just hold the date and then just make a motion at the end when we change all
All
of
the dates?
Yeah,
Can we do that?
okay?
Can we do that?
Okay, so we have September 13th, right?
I don't see any conflict in October, but I do see.
November is a
November
conflict.
2nd, conflict is parent teacher conferences for elementary schools. And the 16th is parent teacher.
For high
conferences for high school, so November.
And it's the same issue in September.
Okay, so let's look at and it's also Thanksgiving that month, so let's just look at November. Maybe we can change it to a Wednesday or Tuesday. mean, Wednesday maybe, if we do a Wednesday, we would have to do it earlier, only because the
So it's-
week of Thanksgiving, people leave by that Wednesday,
So
so.
you have Wednesday, November 1st, the 8th, and the 15th.
You could try Tuesday, is good.
I can't do Christmas. Wednesdays, Wednesday, no good for you?
Oh, commercial today, speak slower because there's that.
Sorry, Romeo.
So we're saying Wednesdays, right?
So
That's
it would be November 1st,
or the eighth,
or the 8th, or maybe the 5th. The 8th? Yeah.
Anna, does the eighth work for you of November?
Yes, that's good.
How about you?
Yeah, that's fine.
November 8th?
And that will also be a combined meeting, am I correct?
Yes. Maybe one. Okay, December 14th is already combined. There doesn't seem to be any. December. Fourth will be. February will be combined.
June sixth, there's an issue.
There's
It's
a
January.
March 7th is the next week. After noon and evening heritage conferences for elementary school.
Okay, and
And
then
then
21st.
21st as well, so more.
So this for the March,
So the 13th.
1 second.
Do the same as we did.
Yeah,
The 13th doesn't work. How about the 20th?
we could do the 6th or the 20th.
The 20th works for me. How
Does
about
everyone have a minute to check their calendars? Anna, how? March 6th or 20th, 2024 for the March meeting, and that would be combined.
That's okay, that's fine.
March 20th?
March 20th? Tomorrow?
20th, yeah, the Wednesday, yes,
March 20th?
yes. Oh, wait, I thought it was.
And then the June 6th date. It is. Veterans Day. And then the 19th is June.
So the June, so we can combine the June 6th meeting for the 20th, if everybody's okay with that. We also. Basically.
Oh, so should we go back to me?
So we should go back to. So for May. There's a conflict on May 16th.
But there's also Memorial Day. So
What we could do is, we could combine it on May 2nd, meeting, which is a Thursday.
Yeah, and let's think about, like, just to throw it out there, we are going to be traveling to different. Locations throughout the 5 boroughs, so not having to go to new schools twice a month actually appeals to me.
Well, let's get the
But I'm
dates
just,
and then we can talk about it.
Okay. So the other thing, the only thing I would say about the May 2nd meeting is on the 18th, we will also have a meeting that day. And so I just think giving people a little bit of time because we're traveling different places. It's sent here, our calendars are meeting.
No, the
April-
16th is.
April 18th, right,
Oh,
I'm saying April 18th, we have a meeting, it's gonna be a quick turnaround. That may be a bit much for people, and then also, in,
So I would just throw this out there, we historically have been doing our IEP conference in May.
yeah,
So we potentially only having another meeting. So that is better than combining this. So that we can have already have this. And then.
Okay.
we have an opportunity to sort of engage.
because we normally have our IP conference in March, we only did it in May. Because of the other issue we had. So I was just thinking in terms of the turnaround.
Would you rather do something like May?
Yeah, I was thinking like maybe maybe the week of the 9th or the week of the, also.
Would it be
Mother's
combined,
Day,
or are you gonna keep the two?
no, we would combine the meeting.
So we would have.
Or even the 16th, because it's Mother's Day weekend.
Yeah, just 16 is, well, I mean, we could do it on, even if we can parent the conferences.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
But that, no, I don't think we should do this.
No.
And the ninth is parents teacher conferences in elementary.
I think the second, you have the turnaround, it's the same kind of turnaround in 3 other months.
Yeah.
Okay,
So for May, we would have to go Wednesday.
okay, so that would be the first.
It could be the first, the eighth, or the 12th. Well, we don't need, we shouldn't change to the first. We're going to do the Wednesday. Yeah. So I would say maybe the 15th since we're combining.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Is everybody okay with May 15th? Anna, are you okay?
But then you said, when's the other meeting in May, please?
Oh, no.
No.
It's gonna be earlier. It'll be March.
Oh.
How is May 15th?
So then.
Anna?
May 15th?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So far, May 15th is okay.
Okay, so the
Combined. And then Raver. June 6th and 20th.
The sixth is the chancellor's conference day for staff. Students do not attend school that day. And the 20th is nothing, so.
But is it June when we are finalizing the annual report?
Yeah.
So we should do one meeting in June because we're gonna be doing competitive.
And all that kind of stuff, and I would say the meeting should be later than
Yeah.
Tuesday.
So we don't have a meeting. Yeah, because we.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
We're gonna be having in the eye on the annual report.
That were, okay.
So June, are we saying Monday or Thursday? No, we're keeping it on a Thursday. We're keeping it. Okay, yeah. And then just July is to May 16th. If this is all okay, we're having a meeting for boss.
You're all voting. Like it's done, like these dates, you can vote on.
And the IEP conference you said is in March. Right?
It's usually March.
Here, so then we have to pick a date for the IEP
That's
conference.
pretty good idea. You don't have to pick it tonight, once the committee.
Yeah.
I think our committee should meet and then figure out
Yeah.
what we're gonna do, and people are available. Yeah.
So to go over the calendar that we discussed before we place the motion, I want all the members to hear. We have August 4th and 17th. We also have September 13th combined because of the
August 3rd, I'm sorry.
August 3rd and August 17th, and August 3rd is the annual meeting. September will be combined because of parent teachers conferences. Then we have October 5th and October 19th. November will be combined to November 8th because of parent teacher meetings. December is combined, it's on December 14th. January is 4th and 18th. February will be combined to February 15th. March will be combined because of parent teacher conferences to March 20th. April 4th, April 18th. May will also be combined to May 15th, and June will be combined to June 20th. Is everyone okay with that?
Yeah, I'm okay.
Okay, so. Anna? Are you okay?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, so can someone make a motion?
So first, we have to make a motion for each individual.
No, one motion is just put all the dates.
Just one more copy before we want to combine the uncombined meeting, so that we have, that I think is a bylaw change. That is a bylaw.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. Okay, so I make a motion to change the meeting calendar as described by Karen in 5 minutes. I second the motion. She said.
No, don't we have to read what the dates?
No, it's just, no, she just.
Okay.
It's August 3rd now.
Here, this is the, yeah.
It's a-
So I make a motion to change the meeting calendar as described. I second the motion.
Do we need a voice vote, Rose?
We're gonna do a roll call vote.
Roll call. Okay.
Diane Abrams, Muhammad Alam,
Yes.
Francine Almarch,
Yeah.
Dr. Sanai,
Yeah.
Anna,
Yes.
Carolyn Cash,
Yes.
Heather.
Yes.
Okay, we have 7 yeses and the motion passes.
Yeah.
How about Anna? Did we ask Anna?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so we're now moving to new business. We briefly already talked about the vacancies and this, we have to appoint a member to CCHS. I don't know if the applications have,
That was what happens.
okay.
I posted the links in the chat.
The vacancy will go on.
What is, the question, what is your new variances, CCS?
Member signed,
Okay.
so we have a vacancy.
Awesome.
And then we are obligated to appoint a member to the CCHS, so that's also, that's a non-voting member, but that's.
And we have a high school voting member who will also be applying, and but we don't decide who that young person is. I believe that person is decided by face.
Yes.
And the CCHS appointee, they're a voting member of the CCHS.
Which is the high point.
Okay.
But we appoint that person. So over the next month, once we get through our elections, we'll give more information and we'll give more explanation on how that process. Normally, we have a committee that comes together and look at the applications as they come in for CCHS, and then we decide as a council which person we're going to choose to represent us on that particular council, which is the citywide council for high school. And they will have a voting space there, but they will also come back to us, from my understanding, and share whatever information from the high school committee council with us, as well as the public. The next thing on the list is our annual meeting. If you go to, if you look in your folder, you should have a document that says the template with script. Carolyn, are you gonna read and go over it for everyone?
I will read it for everyone. It says Community and Citywide Education Council's template script for annual elections meeting. We encourage council members and the AAs to review the enclosed instructions and script and discuss any questions or concerns were raised prior to the elections meeting. The annual meeting is a separate meeting with only business with the election of officers. It must be convened and adjourned before moving on to the business and or calendar meeting. The bylaws should be on hand as a reference. All of you have been sent your bylaws.
Yes, they would.
The chair may read aloud and or display on screen the sections that govern elections and officer duties, generally Article 2, sections 2 and 3. The administrative assistant must take minutes and record the votes. If no AA is present, the outgoing recording secretary, me, takes minutes until a new recording secretary is elected. If neither the AA nor the recording secretary is at the meeting, the council must agree on a member to take minutes and record votes until a new recording secretary is elected. The AA is not a member of the council and may not run the election. The AA's only role is to take minutes and record votes. All council meetings conducted in a remote environment must be recorded. Members who are absent do not count for quorum and cannot vote, but they can run for office if they have notified the AA and or any member in writing of their intention to run and for what offices. They may also submit a statement to be read by the AA or another member. As soon as quorum is reached, the highest ranking outgoing officer calls the meeting to order and does the roll call. If this is a new council term, the highest ranked returning officer calls the meeting to order and does the roll call. If there are no returning officers, the AA calls the meeting to order and presides until the chair pro term has been elected. The entire.
So, no, I guess people can review it.
I have a question, what do you make AA?
The
Administrative. Yeah.
So,
That's what I was.
right, so Rose and our administrative assistant and her job is to support us as an entire council. So while she may work closely with the co-presidents on getting papers and information to you guys, she is accessible to each member for any questions, any concerns you have. If you are not sure of something, she's there to support you as well as the official board. It doesn't matter where you are placed on this council, she's there to support each and every one of us. So feel free to ask her questions. The only thing I will ask is, Carolyn, if you want to just talk a little bit about the chair pro tem, because that's very important, because someone has to be someone has to actually take on that role to actually run the election. And so I think that information should be shared.
Okay, Chair Pro Tem. To elect officers, we will vote upon each position before moving on to the next, so that any candidate not elected to an office can run for office. I will take nominations. Members can nominate themselves. If a member is nominated by another member, I will confirm that he or she accepts the nomination. So I'm reading to you as I am approaching.
Do you want to do this? I would like to.
Yeah, so for
I
example,
would like to nominate Carolyn as first lady. And then if you're the pro tem, you would say, Carolyn, do you accept the nomination?
and I would say,
Yes. or no?
yes.
Okay.
If a member is not present, but has submitted his or her nomination in writing to the AA or another member, he or she will be treated the same as any other member who is present, including having a 2-minute statement read aloud by someone else. Each nominee will be allowed to make a speech of up to 2 minutes. Following the candidate's presentation, we will conduct a roll call vote. All positions must be voted on, even if there is only one candidate. Where there are 2 or more candidates, each member must make a choice and vote for one or the other. Example, John Doe and Jane Smith are running for president. On the roll call, each member will vote for either John or Jane. The council must not vote first on John and then on Jane. Members may abstain from voting. So if you are uncertain or you are not interested in voting in person, you can abstain by saying I abstain.
Approach here, can't run for president.
Right, if no candidate receives at least 7 votes, 6 for CCSE. We will vote by show of hands on whether to do a second round or proceed to the elections for the next office. If a position remains unfilled over 2 or more rounds of voting, the incumbent will continue in the position. So if a recording secretary is not nominated and I have not accepted another position, is that correct?
Yes.
Then I will remain the recording secretary. New elections for all unfilled positions must be put on the agenda of the following month's calendar meetings until all the positions are filled. Is the procedure clear to all of you?
The chair pro tem cannot run for president as chair pro tem. So if you choose to be the chair pro tem, you cannot run.
I thought it was for any position.
Right, well, it says it here, like, yeah. It's right, because after the president is selected, the president then takes over the meeting and they finish the election. So whoever's the pro tem, they can't run for president. But once the president is elected, the pro temp can then give the election back over to the president, and then the president presides over the remaining seats of the election.
I highly recommend between now and our next meeting, reading the bylaws and really understanding what each of the roles are and the responsibilities for each of the roles. And then if you have questions to reach out to us or to Rose or parties.
And what I want to say about the position is that though you may elect that person as in that position for the year, if at any time in the year members feel that that person is not upholding their seat, they're not doing what they need to do as president, vice president, treasurer, for whatever the reason. Sometimes people may have other commitments that just doesn't allow them to be president. We as a council have a right to ask that person to step down, or we can vote that person down. We try not to get in a position to do that, but it's important that all members understand that you have, not only do you have power, but you also have power and position on this council, whether you are the president or you are a regular member. And so each person who takes on these roles, whether it's the president, vice president, or whatever role, the expectation is for us to follow whatever that position requires. And if we so happen to not do it to the liking of the council, we have discussions about it. I think it's important to let that be known at the beginning so that people can understand that we are here to serve you, whoever the person is, whether I'm the president, the vice president, the treasurer. We're here to serve the council, we're here to serve the parents. At any point if that is not working, you can have a discussion as a group, an individual, The other thing I would like to say is members, if you want to call a special meeting, you only need 3 members to call a special meeting. 3 members can then inform the president. We would like to have a special meeting about any topic or any issue that you would like to talk about. It's important to know that because oftentimes those things are not conveyed, and it's not until there's a problem that people start to feel very despondent. So I want to put it out there as the returning co-president. Our job is to serve. If we sit in a leadership position, if you choose to run, your job is to serve. And the expectation of this council is that we serve to the best of our capacity. And if you can't, say that, and that's how we all work together to help support each other. So it's no judgment here. We're just trying to get the work done, and we want everybody to be a part and know that you do have a voice. Any other thing that we want to share?
I think you've covered it.
Okay.
Do you have any questions?
I was about to-
Anna, are you free to jump in?
Yes.
Okay, so the last thing on our agenda is public comment. I was going to open up for questions. Questions about our presentation or questions about anything that was said. Our members first and then to the public. Do anyone have questions for us, concerns, thoughts, comments? Solutions? Anything?
No, okay, no.
Yes. Should I give them a chance to go first?
No.
I had a question, we were sent email saying they need a representative from this specific district to go to certain, but what is our role in that?
So, as council members, you will often get information from the Department of Education. They're having town halls or city-wide meetings, so they want comment from our council as well as other councils. If you receive the email, you can sign up to go. Any one of us can go. We get the email saying they're inviting you to something. All members have a right to attend. You get the information, and that comes important when we come back to report, when we talked about our committee report. So any meeting that you attend, anything that's happening, whether it be with the Department of Education or an outside organization, like ECC or Advocates for Children, or if you visit a school or if there's an issue, at our meeting, as a committee report, that's your opportunity to share. But you may get emails randomly from the Department of Education asking for members of our council to participate in the survey. Yeah, so anything.
We get a lot of.
Like speak or.
No, you go, it'll tell you what they want you to do. If they want you just to come and listen, they'll tell you. If they want to get comment from you, they'll tell you. Whatever they want you to do, they usually will say in the email.
It's important is we often get announcements from their reality in space. When they're bringing the district 75 for their new school, that is the situation that often requires some of advocacy. Or there's usually a lot of.
And usually if that's the case, because we are citywide, we do work with that local district. Because it's not just us going to those meetings, oftentimes it's parents, PTA members, other councils, but oftentimes we'll share that information with each other so that everybody can do it.
We should coordinate with every single school district, right? City level, and any level, because council, we can coordinate with, like suppose I'm from school district A, right?
Yeah.
So anything happen, because that's why I'm kind of here, I want to interfere with it. What about, because I work in New York City DDC. We take care of areas and stuff.
Yeah, we're the whole.
So our council, because after pandemic, a lot of happiness gone there. All everything is.
Yeah.
So we are. Yeah.
So our council is serious.
Yeah.
We are, but that doesn't mean like you have to go to every single like district in the Bronx is like CDC meetings necessarily, like, that's why there's the IEP rep that we're going to set up a better structure.
I have a question because a lot of the parents, they come to me, because I help my congregation.
Okay.
I'm really helpful.
Okay.
I do whatever they want. I do immigration, everything, whatever I have in notice.
Right.
I don't give any wrong notice to people.
So
So
you can do
a lot of people is to come to, because my first daughter, she has IPP, I know. They did a lot of wrong jobs with that. So a lot of parents, they come in and they come to us, they ask question, oh, what I have to do, because 90% parents doesn't know, they're not educated. Even I'm not,
Right.
I came to this that's all I want to learn.
Yes. So
I'm as a learner.
right, so what I want to say to you, Mohammed, is yes, you have.
If you don't mind, can I use it every day, please, by attention, please, kindly you guys information, please call me along.
Okay.
Because I will do, we have a formal exam, a flag exam and formal exam and be good.
Okay.
I really know.
So it's alone. Okay, so as a member, we do advocate, we do advocacy. Francine talked about that earlier, that sometimes we advocate for parents, we help out in other districts. Sometimes you will see an email that will go out from my council saying, a parent in this particular area or this particular issue, do someone have experience on that, can you help that parent? If you are a person who have experience in that, you can always send back, yeah, I can help the parent, and then we'll pass the information on. So we try to work as a team because we know that each of us have expertise in different things. And maybe you know something that I don't, and maybe you have connections or information from another organization that can help them. And so, yes, you can advocate. But part of what we do is we work with other councils, because in these districts, there are already CECs that actually do the same thing we do on the citywide, but for their local district. And so it's so important for us to work with them on whatever the issue is when it comes to parent, or work with the Department of Education in a particular office that may be able to support that parent. And so we do know that there may be some issues, but the objective here is really to work together and try to alleviate as much conflict and tension as possible. But when there needs to be conflict, we do not have a problem bringing it.
We have a hand raised.
Okay. I know.
Yeah.
Well, we had public comment, so let's just finish public comment first.
Okay.
The hand raised.
Tamara.
You can unmute yourself, Ms. Reed.
Hi,
Hi.
sorry, I just jumped from my phone onto my computer and my cat's trying to take over right now. Oh my God, I have so many issues that I wanted to bring tonight, and I'm just trying to pick and choose to just get it going. We definitely need like some major help in District 2. The middle schools have shifted from 18 schools previously being screened schools, and 18 out of 25 schools were previously screened. And since the lottery, which is awesome, there's sort of a lot of non-compliance in certain schools. And the biggest issue, I can only speak to the school that my son's at. I can't speak to every school, but I do know that it's widespread in our school, which is Clinton Middle School, where students did not receive a final progress report. They only received sometimes one progress report out of 4 quarterly grade, when grades are posted quarterly. I know that my son only received one progress report. It was a cut and paste from 5th grade, and he received that in February. We had an IEP meeting in March of 2023. We did a complete overhaul on the IEP. And then I realized that it doesn't even go into effect until September of this year. So he's basically working on a 5th grade IEP, or was his entire 6th grade year, and then didn't receive a progress report at all. And so I talked to someone in the school who said that this is what they were told to do, to make all of the IEPs effective as of September. So these are students that aren't getting any real grade level assessment. They're not showing their progress monitoring. Parents are lost, and it's kind of like a place where parents of students with disabilities are, discouraged from rocking the boat. There's an attitude, you're just lucky to fucking be here. Sorry, I didn't mean to swear. So just be quiet about it. I've raised an issue with the superintendent. That's the only reason anyone reached out to me from the school. I emailed 7 people. I called Advocates for New York, or for Children of New York. I mean, it's just complete silence on their part. they can look in CCSE and see if the progress report was put in there, they were supposed to, and it's not there, and they won't just say it's not there. So far, I know 25 students that this has been the case for at Clinton. They won't file a report, they won't talk about it, they're scared of retaliation. And I know there's going to be a special education team meeting early in the fall. And I'm hoping that maybe you all, that someone can either be there or advocate in some way, because I feel like that meeting is going to be the meeting that kind of sets the tone for the upcoming school year.
Information in the chat.
Sure.
And what we will do as a council is we will reach out to you privately to get more detail, and we will try to work as a council to support you guys in the fall. You said September.
Yeah.
So between now and then, we'll try to come up with a plan to get some support or reach out to some people within DOE to see what is actually going on and if we can get some help and support there.
And the other thing that I want to add is that, you know, it's unfortunate just because we're sort of just getting off the ground, but generally speaking, when we have these meetings, we have representatives from the Office of Special Education. So I always encourage people to bring these issues to those meetings, because I find that when you can say this face to face to a representative from the Office of Special Education in a public forum, that is often the best way to begin the process of getting results. And so, you know, this is one of the things that we definitely tried to do a lot at the end of last term, was just to really spread the word that if you have any problem, show up to the meeting and say it to their faces with our support. And so what's nice that to reach out to us, but also if it's possible to, you know, we will begin having, you know, back here in our meetings.
Yes.
And I think that it's really important to say these things in this public space to them. And then we can also push from there, if that makes sense.
So with that being said, I just also want to introduce.
Speaking of DOE, perfect segue.
Perfect segue into the representative from the Department of Education. You want to introduce yourself?
Good evening, everyone. Andre Mitchell, Director of Family Empowerment Communication for Special Education. We will always have representation at the meetings or throughout the calendar year. So the CCSE is correct. Please bring the concerns as well to the meetings, because we would definitely love to hear. If you are running into questions or concerns, I will also make sure to drop in the chat our two best emails, my personal one, and then our general inbox, which is manned now. We have an AI system which will be rolled out, so you can get responses 24/7, 365 as well.
And I would say when you utilize those email addresses, also CC the CCSE, so that we know that you put something in. And do the results.
Yes, you can follow up. Do we have any other public comments?
I just want to say also tomorrow that this problem is, I think, really endemic, and I'm really excited what we were talking about before, about at certain levels, it begins to get, it's just growth. The IEP process becomes this growth process of check boxes and drop downs, and so I think this is something that we really have to address this year, especially at the middle school and high school level. And I think this happens also around testing accommodations when it comes to regents and P-TEST. That many parents don't know that you should be getting letters from the college board saying that you have these accommodations in place for testing. Students should be prepared with their accommodations specifically in a testing environment, right? So the day a student walks into a regents exam shouldn't be the first day they've ever used their AT on test, right? And so again, this is something I think in term that we really need to begin working on.
And please put your information in the chat, way for us. You can private, we don't want to put it publicly in the chat. You can send a private message to either Carolyn or Heather's on, and we will reach back out to you this week and try to give some support. Does anyone else? Any other questions or comments? If not, then do the council have any other questions?
I'll just say one last thing, which is that next week, I'm going to Albany for the Blue Ribbon Commission on High School Measures. I want to say that because it is the final meeting. It is the meeting in which we are going to make our recommendations. I wish I was super hopeful, but my role on that committee has been to really push for representation for students with disability. I am excited to say that there have been, so this is across the state, there have been a lot of representation for students with disability. There have been people who have had some very, very good ideas. The biggest push is to decouple the Regents exam from graduation requirements. I wish that the issue of standardized testing was going away. That's my editorial, it's not, but I am hopeful that perhaps we will have a system where at least instead of this system now, we have all these pathways to different diplomas, that we will have a more streamlined set of pathways for one diploma, right? And then different ways that people can acknowledge different achievements they've done. So I will look back on that at the next meeting. I'm hoping that there's a lot of push for the kinds of things that consortium schools do, to at least bring that in as options for people. So I'm hopeful that there will be something. But also.
Well, with that being said, is there anything else? No. Okay. We want to just thank you guys for coming out tonight. We pray and hope that you got a lot of information. If we said anything that may be confusing, not clear, please send an email, we will clarify it. We will make sure that our PowerPoint presentation is on our website so that you can get the information and the presentation that Naquan gave. We will also make sure that it's up so that those who want to go back to get information in regards to the structures within DOE and parent leadership, it is there. We thank you for being a part of our meeting and we look forward to seeing you next month. I make a motion. Yes, someone make a motion.
I make a motion to adjourn the meeting.
I second.
Okay.
No, I can voice for that.
Yeah. Have a great
Any
night.
say no?
Any abstains? Well, thank you and have a great night.
Great job, my friends.
Thank you, great meeting.
Thank you.